Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel Any Psychology. So today we are going to know about a topic which is rarely discussed in the field of psychology, and that is extrasensory perception. So we are going to know about what is ESP in the short form, extrasensory perceptions, and we are going to know every single detail about it. So let's start from the definition of ESP. Extrasensory perceptions refers to the ability to obtain information about the world around you without using the normal five senses of sight, touch, taste, hearing, and smell. The basic assumption behind extrasensory perception (ESP) is that humans can experience things that go beyond the capabilities of our knowing sense, which we have five normal senses. Not all people believe that extrasensory perception do exist, but many people also have a criteria of thinking that ESP is definitely taking places in most of the individuals. Most individuals who believe in ESP extrasensory perception maintain that all humans have the potential for extrasensory perception, but most of us are more aware of our abilities than others. Every human has five sensory perceptions which we all know, which is sight, hearing, smell, touch, and taste. And when we add the term extra in these five sensory perceptions, it becomes unnatural and out of this humanly world. That's why some way we call extrasensory perceptions as the sixth sense and the most advanced sense. Sometimes we say it as sensory overload, which insists human brain to develop another sensory and leads to the such things which has no proven facts in the real world. At some phase of our life, many of us have this feeling that certain things happen by certain coincidence. For example, we think of someone and we receive a phone call from that person soon after we are thinking about them. So we say it as a telepathy too. There are other instances and examples when some people are able to foresee the future. For an example, let's take an example of very popular and famous person Nostradamus. In the late 16th century, predicted many events that were to occur beyond his lifetime. He had predicted many of the incidents and events that he claimed that it will surely happen in the future. At his phase of time, he was taken as a predictor, and Nostradamus has claimed many events which came to be true. All these phenomena are really termed as extrasensory perceptions or the ESP or the sixth sense. There is a psychological belief that one can have a perceptual experience without having any sensory interruption or input in the human brain, except the normal five senses which every individual has. Extrasensory perception, or we say in short form ESP, also called sixth sense as we claimed, is a claim paranormal ability pertaining to reception of information not gained through the recognized physical five senses but sensed with the mind. Extrasensory perception, which is also called as sensory overload, refers to the ability to obtain information about the world around you without using the normal five senses which every individual has of sight, touch, taste, hearing, and smell. That's why its ESPs are also called as sixth sense of the human brain. The term extrasensory perception in the field of psychology was first popularized by Joseph Banks Riney in 1934, who was a professor at Duke University at the time, conducted several experiments that he believed proved the existence of extrasensory perception or an extrasensory except the five normal senses. Many of us believe that all humans have some degree of extrasensory perception (ESP) and that we involuntarily experience extrasensory perceptions on several occasions and time. There are some psychological phenomena that happens when a person has extrasensory perception or overloaded sensory except the five normal senses. So let's see what are those. The first is telepathy or thought transference between people. Second is clairvoyance or supernormal awareness of objects or events not necessarily known to others. Third is precognition or knowledge of the future or foreseer or predictor of the future. We can say these phenomena of ESP as the types of ESP, as the type of extrasensory perceptions. So now we are going to discuss about these types of ESPs in more brief and with examples. There are several types of extrasensory perceptions which are in the field of psychology. The major types are which we followed: telepathy, clairvoyance, precognition, retrocognition, mediumship, and psychometry. There is also a phenomena in a type which is mental telepathy, in which a person can read another person's thought without their telling. It can also be considered as a communication between two people separated by geographical distance with no possible form of prior contact, even if they are far away, but they can read each other's minds and thoughts. And also, there comes a question that how two people who are separated by their distance can read each other's minds, and this is because telepathy is usually observed between people who are connected to each other with any kind of love, affection, or the attraction. Sometimes the people who are very close to us, like our close friends, our close family members, relatives, or the couples, experience this unexplained communication without the use of their common sensory organs, which are the five sensory organs. But using their sixth sense, they can telepathy with each other, with their close people. Sometimes it may happen with us also that we can read another person's mind even without them saying anything by words. That's why psychology take this phenomena as an emotional component for the people who are very attached with each other. So in short and simply, telepathy and mental telepathy is when you can read your friends or any people who are close to you thoughts without them saying a word. This is an example of the telepathy. Now let's see what is forecasting and precognition. Precognition is the ability to predict future incidents accurately. For example, who will win a race or engage in a particular activity. The person who has more sixth sense in precognition part, they have ability to predict future, and they can predict some things accurately which will may follow up in the future and they can come true. Basically, precognition is the knowledge of future events without any logical explanation that happens in our mind except the five common normal sensories. A person who experiences precognition can either have an instant or vague idea or a clear knowledge of the sequence of future events, whether it can happen by they can see a dream what will happen in the future, or by even they can see some things which are unknowingly from the five senses, or something they can experience which is not common in the humanly world. As I said, they can either watch something while they are sleeping, while they are dreaming, or while awake also. They can have some kind of a instant thoughts or instant feeling that this can happen and that can happen. They can have something imaginary, perceptions and some episodes while they are closing their eyes or something, even while awake or while sleeping. So let's take a quick example of precognition, that you dream about fighting with someone and next day you wake up and while going for work you got into a fight with a person who just hit your car. So this can be the example of precognition, that you watch something in the dream last night and then when you wake up going for the work and then just suddenly something happened that your dream become true. So this is the example of the precognition. This was the closed eye precognition episode. Now we will see what is the open eye precognition episode. For example, suddenly you get blank out, you cannot see anything and see a foresight of something that's going to happen in few hours or the few next days. This can be the example of open eye precognition. You can blank out or you can see nothing but some black area or something. You just have headache or something like faintness, and then just you saw something and that's going to happen. That's the example of open eye precognition. Now let's see what is clairvoyance. Clairvoyance is the awareness of some event that one cannot see. For example, knowing where a body is hidden. Something that you cannot see, but you have a feeling that something is going to happen or something is there. So you can have that feeling that something has been hidden and you are the only person that you know about that. That is the example of clairvoyance. In short, awareness of unknown objects or hidden materials without any prior contact or knowledge of the same. You don't know what's happening, you don't know what is hidden, you don't know what's going on in another place, but you know exact all the every single details about it. That is clairvoyance. Sometimes a clairvoyant, a person who is suffering from the sixth sense ability, from most of the part of clairvoyance, they are able to detect things that are not easily detected or found by the common five senses. They can only detect things by their sixth extra sensory, which is clairvoyance, and by that they can detect every single detail of something which is really hidden from the world, but that cannot be hidden by the person who is a clairvoyant. A clairvoyant person also doesn't know the exact reason behind all these things happening to him, just he knows that something very unnatural is happening in his mind, that he can see and observe the things which are hidden from the world, but not from him. Now let's see what is psychokinesis. Psychokinesis is the ability to cause things to move by virtue of your thought processes. For example, you can move any object just by thinking in your mind that I can move it without touching from my hands. And psychokinesis is a situation where a person can move any object just by thinking in their mind without touching anything from their hands. Basically, in short, moving objects without any physical contact, that is called psychokinesis, where your brain and your mind has more power than your physical senses. Psychokinesis is also called as telekinesis. Both are a hypothetical psychic ability allowing a person to influence a physical system without physical interaction. Also, there comes an intuition, which is a form of knowledge that appears in consciousness without obvious deliberation. An intuition takes place when a person doesn't know anything about the proper correct information but has a feeling that this might happen. Intuition is also called as the gut feeling because a person's brain or mind has a feeling, has their gut feeling, which is related to the sixth sense, which is extraordinary sensory occurred in them. So they have a feeling of something, that's called the intuition, without having any proper knowledge of something. Now let's see which area and which branch in the field of psychology studies about extrasensory perception. So, there is a branch and there is a concept of paranormal behavior, an area that introduces the extrasensory perception in the field of psychology. And the concept of paranormal behavior comes under the psychological subject, which is parapsychology. Parapsychology analyzes situations, experiences, and behavior that are out of the ordinary humanly world. The experiences which are only experienced through the extrasensory perceptions and which is not normal in the human world, in the universe we are existing right now. Such unusual circumstances and incidents cannot be explained in finite terms. At many phases of time, many scientists tried to cover the area of ESP under the psychological behavior and parapsychology subject, but they came to know that this is just because the extrasensory perception which has taken place into a human mind and has created overloaded sensories, which is also called as the sixth sense, except of the five normal senses. As we have discussed before, that ESP defines perceptions or impressions our brain receives or communication that occurs without the involvement of any of our communicating sensory organs, which are eyes, mouth, ears, and the touch, which is feel. A person who has overloaded sensory and they have sixth sensory except from their five common senses, they will not feel anything from their common normal five senses, but they will feel something very far from the humanly world, something different in their brain, in their mind, that collects them with the unnatural process of the human world, and they will think something that they have no idea of that from the common senses of, and then they start to feel something from their overly excluded sensory perceptions they have got in their mind from nowhere else, just because of the extrasensory perceptions problem in their human psychological brain. Some people who are very superstitious and believe in the extraordinary things which are really out of the world, they believe that these extrasensory perceptions has no link with the psychological field, but it is the matter of the ghosts and the souls and the spirits, because there are so many people who still believe in this world that there are some extraordinary things apart from the human life, that they exist too. So many of the people take extrasensory perceptions as not as a psychological disorder or a problem or a disaster, but they take it as a spirit's game or a ghost situation where a person is surrounded by any spirit or a soul or by a ghost. But in the field of psychology and in the science field, these extrasensory perceptions has another meaning and another definitions which we have discussed in this video, and the psychology thinks the same. And so that's why psychologists has given this extrasensory perceptions problem a name in the field of psychology, which is paranormal psychology, which is a study of alleged psychic phenomena, that is, for example, telepathy, clairvoyance, telekinesis, and the other things we have discussed today in this video. And the psychologists who studies the branch of paranormal psychology, they are known as parapsychologists who study these phenomena of extrasensory perceptions, which comes under the paranormal behavior subject. Apart from the superstitious belief of some people that the ESP problem has some link with the ghost and spirits and souls, but the parapsychologists believe that the existence of the extrasensory perceptions in any human may be occurred due to the presence of a certain type of brain activity. So basically, the parapsychologists don't believe in these ghost things, but they take ESP problem as a psychological problem or a disorder or a minor disorder that a human gains extra sixth sensory apart from the five common sensories, and they have any problem in their brain activities either from the childhood, from their birth, or they have gained any traumatic incidents or events in their adolescence or young adulthood. That's why they have gained this ESP. But the psychologists don't believe in these extra uncommon things that other superstitious things are, just like ghosts, spirits and souls, but this is the field of psychology. So guys, today we have discussed about the parapsychology, paranormal behavior, paranormal psychology, and the basic our topic was the ESP, the extrasensory perceptions, which we have discussed today in this video very briefly. So I hope you found it very knowledgeable in the field of psychology, for the field of psychology, and for the people who really love to seek knowledge about the psychology field, and like really I do. So I hope you found it very knowledgeable and informative, and if you like it, you can just give a like, and if you want to give any kind of review, you can just write in the comment sections. And if you want to subscribe my channel for more psychological based videos and informative videos about psychology, so you can subscribe my channel. So thanks for watching my video. We'll meet you in the next video. Till then, have positive lives. Thank you. Bye bye.